Joining us now, a man who has a few jackets of his own. We should give him a Hall of Fame jacket when it comes to BYU sports and coverage of BYU
the BYU Sports Nation Hall of Fame?
Yeah,
absolutely. We should make that.
Blaine Fowler is on BYUSN on this Black Friday. Blaine, how's the shopping coming along, my friend?
You know, I don't really do shopping. So thank goodness my two daughters, like the only person I have to buy for is Brenda, and Nicole and Libby. Oh, they come up big.
Okay.
Every year. Hey, Dad, Mom needs this and this. I'm like, can you get that? And they're like, yeah, I'll get it. And so when it comes down to it, I really don't do shopping.
So you Venmo your daughters and you're good.
Yeah, well, and my philosophy has always been, listen, I'll go work 5 jobs if I have to and provide the funding for the shopping.
Yep.
But as long, like, I'll do 10 jobs as long as I don't have to go shopping.
Oh, I feel that in my bones.
I feel that too. And there's no way that Landon, Gavin, and Kellen are contributing in that way. So it's all good, man.
No.
Love those guys, but no way.
The only thing I'm okay shopping for is furniture, because when we go into the furniture store, I immediately just go sit on the couch, and then I'm okay.
Today would be a good day for that. You could just watch football. Okay,
yes.
Speaking of, we were talking about whether we feel like BYU can build off of last week into this week. Certainly another good opponent, another ranked team. This time it's on the road. A lot at stake for OSU. Can BYU build off this and take care of the ball better and take it away better?
Absolutely, I think they can. And I think that's been the theme all week with the coaching staff. It's nice to have a game where you can go watch film and say, see, guys, this is what we were talking about. You match up with anybody. Oklahoma probably has, if you go position by position, the second best team in the league when it comes to talent. Texas is probably the most. Then I'd say Oklahoma and TCU are really close. Isn't it interesting that the records sort of reflect that? Maybe TCU's underperformed this year. But you can point on play after play. If you get in the gap defensively that you're supposed to be in, if you run the alley the way you're supposed to run it, we match up with these teams. The only thing we didn't do was take care of the football. Remedy that on the road, and you will beat Oklahoma State. And it's one thing to say that when it's not really happening. It's another to put the film up and say that and have the guys go, gosh, they're exactly right here. Like, we can do this. We can run the football on people when we pick up the right people on the front and when we block a hat on a hat and don't have free runners. We can run the football for 217 yards like folks just saw when you get Aiden Robbins going downhill. So I think, can you build on it? You absolutely can, because the theme this week has been, look at yourself on film, look what you're capable of, let's take it up a notch on the road, and let's take care of the football, and we got something here.
Blaine Fowler is with us on BYU Sports Nation. All right, Blaine, the Big 12 week-to-week has been so full of parity and just unexpected results that, frankly, I have no idea what to expect tomorrow from BYU against an Oklahoma State team that lost by 42 points to UCF and lost by 26 points at home to South Alabama. But this same Oklahoma State team beat OU head-to-head, and they got one of the best, most exciting running backs in the entire country. So what do you expect to happen tomorrow? Is there something you could circle and say, yes, this will definitely happen?
Yeah, Ollie Gordon's tough to stop. Like, this is the great running back you're talking about. He's one of the best in the country. But I don't think you have to stop him to beat Oklahoma State. I think if you can keep him to 150 yards or less, isn't that crazy that I'm saying just keep him to 150 yards or less? But if you can keep him in that and you don't give him these big home run plays and make Oklahoma State work it, I just don't think that their defense, when I look at Oklahoma State defensively on film, I'm not overly impressed with them. And I think BYU found something offensively last week. This Oklahoma State team comes in ranked 107th in the country in rush defense. So if you can keep them from just running the ball down your throat with Gordon, I think BYU can actually establish the run a little bit, give the quarterback some play action passes offensively that he can complete. And I think you're in a ball game where you come down to the stretch and you have a chance to win this thing. It's also supposed to rain tomorrow there. Yep. Remember, that Oklahoma State game where they just got beat to death by Central Florida was in a rainstorm. So I just feel like if BYU found the running game last week And they found it because they called the right kind of plays for Aiden Robbins, but also because they went simple, and that offensive line, they found the right guys. This year, it hasn't been, offensive lines, everybody's getting beat one-on-one. It's been, why are they doubly teaming that guy and not blocking the other guy on the line of scrimmage? So many negative yardage plays with just unblocked players. They fixed that last week. So keep it fixed. And if you keep it fixed, I feel like they can run the ball, which will lead to bigger plays and play action. And if they can just keep Gordon from going off for 250 yards or something nuts like that, I feel like they're in the game and they have a chance to win this thing at the end.
When they give it to them 20 times, I think they're 6-0 this year. So that carry number will be interesting. I would argue BYU did a nice job against other very talented running backs around the country in the Big 12. Taj Brooks, Texas Tech, Jonathan Brooks of Texas, Imani Bailey, TCU. Granted, they just threw the ball a lot in that one. Devin Neal, not so much Kansas, but there's an opportunity there. With that said, you said, hey, BYU's got to control the clock and the run game. Does that mean you think Jake Retzloff should be the starter with the increased run game, and then obviously he needs to take care of the ball? Or do you think Keaton Slova should start if healthy?
I just don't feel like Keaton's still 100% healthy. And if he's not, Jake gives you a run dynamic. As we were watching film to get ready for after further review this last week, we're watching plays where Aiden's getting that cutback lane where they're handing it to him play side. So say the play's designed to go to the right. They hand it to him play side, and then Retzloff hands the ball off, and he continues his motion out to the left, and the backside end and the backside linebacker both respect him. They step outside. That's what creates the cutback lane. The cutback lane's not created by anybody blocking anybody. You leave those guys unblocked. If they respect the quarterback, the cutback's there. If they don't respect the quarterback, Jake can keep it and run with the football. And we saw him do that a couple of times. So when you're running that, not necessarily the RPO, but the zone read or wherever there's an option for the quarterback to keep the football, you have a couple of guys on the backside that have to stay home defensively, and it creates some running lanes for Aiden when he's running downhill. So Jake does bring that dynamic to it where if you don't respect him, he'll go run for 15 or 20 yards. He's got that capability. Interestingly, Oklahoma State's quarterback, Bauman, he's big, tall, thrower, kind of a pocket guy. They do run that type of offense, but he's not a guy that you're going, oh, man, we can't step down and rally to him. He's not like Oklahoma's quarterback or Kansas's quarterback where you feel like, oh, my gosh, a big play's just waiting to happen. I think you can get a little more aggressive with pressuring him in the pass game because he may hurt you a little bit running, but he's not going to run 50 yards for a touchdown. He's just not that kind of guy. He's a solid runner, but he's not a breakaway, going to kill you with his feet type of a guy. So this type of quarterback, as good as he is and as well as he throws the football, isn't as big a threat to BYU's defense as somebody like Dylan Gabriel, who, by the way, BYU did a phenomenal job on in that first half last week. So I think the matchup it's a good matchup for BYU. When they've had really good running backs and can focus on those backs, they've done a really good job, as you mentioned, Jarom, this year in defending that. I expect them to I put that mark at 150. If they can keep him 150 or under, then Oklahoma State's not going to go and run away with this game. And then the other thing is that the offense can produce. When you see Oklahoma State in games that they've struggled, they get behind and they have to throw the football to catch up, and they can't give Gordon the ball 20-plus touches because there's not enough time to do that and to grind. And so I think it's important for them to get a quick start and for BYU to score early to put Oklahoma State in kind of catch-up mode, and that would bode well for the Cougs as well.
All right, great stuff on football, Blaine. Let's go ahead and turn the page to BYU basketball, who played late into the night in Las Vegas. Kind of an ugly game in a lot of ways, especially in the first half, but BYU's defense was there. Their rebounding was outstanding once again. Their efficiency marks have them at number 12 in the Ken Pomeroy Index now after that 28-point win over the Sun Devils. So I guess the question is, what Jarom and I were just discussing a few minutes ago is, regardless of what happens tonight against NC State, do you believe BYU is a top 25 college basketball team right now?
I think they are. Do I think they will be if they lose to NC State? It's hard to say. It's a late enough game that I watched the first half last night on the couch and the second half in bed. And so a lot of the people that vote in the AP and all of that, I don't know that they even see this game tonight, right? And so they're just going to look at the result. I think will they be ranked? It's borderline. I think they have a chance just because of the big blowout against Arizona State last night and the handling of San Diego State and the way they're playing against inferior teams. Think just back a year ago when all these transfers were first year in the program and Fuchs was developing and Atiki wasn't who he is now. And Waterman really wasn't quite sure what was expected of him and was just running around the perimeter and not rebounding and defending like he is now. And Jackson Robinson wasn't sure where his shots were supposed to come. Like, all of those things have changed. Last year, they would play an inferior team, and they'd let them kind of stay in the game, and they'd win at the end. This year, they play an inferior team, and they blow them off the floor. It's like, hey, leave no doubt. And against good teams, they're playing with so much confidence right now. They look like a top 25 basketball team. And I talked to Dutch after the game at San Diego State, and he's like, wow, that's the most physical BYU team I've seen in a long, long time. That was his comment, and I agree with him. That's the thing that's been impressive. When the game was ugly, as you mentioned last night, that first half, BYU didn't back off. Arizona State, they got really physical. They came out on the perimeter. They had a lot of hands on people. They're trying to rough BYU up. BYU didn't back off at all. They put their shoulders down and just attacked. And then they made Arizona State pay for pressing, especially in that second half. It's like, okay, you want to press us? Fine. We're going to push the ball up the floor. We're going to get the ball to one of the wings, and we're going to knock down threes.
Yep.
I was surprised Arizona State pressed as much as they did. That was like, dudes, when are you going to get out of this press? Because BYU's killing you.
Yeah.
Blaine, great stuff. Little football, little basketball. That's why you are the dual threat analyst for BYU Sports Nation. Can't wait to watch the Cougs play against Oklahoma State. And I know you're a women's soccer fan. Big one tonight. So clear your schedule. Women's soccer tonight, football tomorrow.
Basketball and women's soccer beat the state of North Carolina today.
Yes.
For sure.
That's right.
Let's go.
That's right.
Beat the
They're within
Tar
like
Heel
half an hour.
States.
Let's go.
Awesome. Thanks, Blaine.
See you guys.